Okay, good morning traders. Welcome to Trade Setup in the live stream for the 9th of the 11th, so the 9th of November. Hope you've had a good couple of days. It's been interesting to see how these elections have pushed the markets around. US elections. I don't know where we're actually at the moment, the current status, but I think it's pretty much it's looking good for a Clinton victory at the moment. The markets are taking it well, obviously. Bit more of the known with a Clinton win than a Trump on, his stances on different political agenda or whatever it may be. But his stance is a bit more unknown than what Clinton's coming in with. So the market seems to have taken that quite nicely. So yeah, just the normal spill at the moment. If everyone's once you're logged in, just to make sure that your stream is working okay and you can actually get on the chat. Just as a bit of a reminder to use the YouTube chat and through the YouTube, even on the phone, you've got to have a Gmail account. You've got to be logged into your Gmail account because obviously Google own. I think it's Google. Yeah, Google own. So I'm just getting organised. YouTube. So you've got to have that account just to be able to enable your chat. So if you have problems with that, that's more than likely the reason why. But just check on that. And then once you're logged in, you should see the chat pop up. Same on the phone. It should all be good. So I've just checked mine's all working well on the iPhone. Now, obviously, just the usual. If you've got something you want to chat about, we're going to try and we're going to try and put a bit more structure to these the live streams in the morning. We want to go through, so the first, say, 10 or 15 minutes, just going through different markets, not so much stocks, just a global view of what's happening, the latest news, and going through a bit of just looking through the markets and what we see happening and what the currencies are doing, potentially what gold's doing, where it's at the current time, what the markets did overnight, a bit of a rundown, and then what we'll do from there is start looking more into stocks. And we want to try to split them into two sort of areas. One is more your portfolio based stocks, so your longer term stocks and your setups that way, something you can put aside and hold for a while. You may have to hold through a bit of volatility, but something that looks really good that we think is looking nicely for a more of a portfolio stock. Obviously doing bigger volume and things. So the other side of the coin is we want to do more of your short term trades, more of just for, so your portfolio, you'd be wanting to look at things that are dividends and different plays like that as well. However you want to look at it, we obviously look at just your price structure. And if it happens to be a good dividend paying stock as well, that's all great. But just take into account those things, and obviously your short term is really just for return, stuff that we see setting up, which could have potential good return. You obviously got to get into key areas, get in the right areas, and that's the aim, always the aim with your trading. But that's what we want to split it up into. So if there's anyone, like I said, ideas out there, send it to support@tradesetup.com.au or put it through the chat. So put the code on the chat and just say, try to put it into one of those categories and what you're looking at. Okay, so I'll just check the emails quickly to see if we've got anyone sent anything through. So a few people may be missing today purely because we've been offline yesterday. Just trying to get ourselves organised. I was up in Queensland, so it's good to be able to say that I've come back down to Melbourne and it's a sunny Melbourne day. So we're matching it with Queensland. So it's looking good so far. All right, let's get into it. Let's just take a look at the market at the moment. If I can just get that up there. So the market's up. It's up 43. So looking quite good. You can see I'll get my sketch up. We'll just draw this ASX up. So this is the ASX 200 on the daily. We can see it's actually looking quite good at the moment. It's bounced off that level, 5200, or just below that 5200. The problem is what I see happening at the moment. It's a bit more unknown. We had that. Well, you could say, I guess it's more of off that sort of base through there. It's pushed lower, and we've got some lower highs, holding the market down a bit. So this 5200 could easily hold up. We've gone to that oversold, so we've got a little W pattern there. If we see a good solid bounce, what I'd love to see is obviously a higher low build above 52 in the coming days or weeks. But just to see if that can push up off that level and then hold that 5200. It could easily just roll over because of the pressure on the downside there. Could easily just roll over and push down and retest down towards 50.50, which is definitely not off the cards. Wouldn't be too nice for anyone. It's just holding some long positions at the moment. But yeah, that's a definite possibility at the moment. The pressure, it's still holding up. But yeah, it's that major, which is potentially a major lower high. There's no reason why we can't, just wash out this level and then start building for another and engineering. Come down, we're pushing up here, maybe a bit more of a retracement. Come down, wash out that level, and then start building those. Buyers start stepping and building that high, higher low, and just working our way back up to this major high and through. No reason why we can't do that. We'll just have to see how that goes. But yeah, I think at the moment, obviously we've got the elections, which I'll just see if I can get a current. What are we looking at the moment? I had something up before. It's just showing the polls where it's standing at the current time. Bear with me, guys. So of course there's something about no ballots, something wasn't working, and they're whinging and complaining. It's just a bit of fluff, I guess, around the elections, a bit of controversy, which is always good for the market. Now let's just get. Yeah, but anyway, it looks like Clinton's doing well. I haven't got anything up at the moment. Just 1 second, guys. I'm getting the live feed. You can go to Reuters and there's a up to date, like a live feed of the actual elections. And it doesn't look like it's letting me come through. Before I had a little ballot where we're standing at the moment. And it's not there. Okay. Anyway, so that's, so obviously prior to the elections, it's just all this argy-bargy around the FPI, the emails, that it's really, I think, send us down through to that 5200, to that support zone down here. So now that that's sort of come out, and it's more likely that Clinton's win. We've just seen that bounce the last few days. The market's taken it well. So whether that was a bit overcooked through 53 or 52.50 down to 5200, who knows? So maybe this market's just going to consolidate for a while, hold those lower highs, that lowering resistance line there, see if we can hold that, maybe contract in on itself a bit more, and then we'll have to see how it plays out there. But we've also got, now that we're getting through the elections and it's sort of become more of the known, we're looking towards December rate rise still. So would have expected, obviously with a rate rise, a bit of a sell-off, but it's probably currently happening or happened, and we've got a good sell-off in the US. But that's probably, we'll see how that goes. It's probably back to where it started just before the email scandals and things like that, when it was more known, when that sort of the conclusion that it was Trump wasn't going to win. He had a bit of a chance in there. The market didn't take it too well, and then we've sort of bounced since then. So just getting into my coffee. So any questions? Anyone's got a little opinion on those elections, that anyone's following it a bit more in depth than potentially I am? I'm not a big fan of politics, but yeah, I mean you've got to have a bit of a view, I guess, especially when you talk about the markets. These things can really move it. All right, let's just go to the intraday. Let's just see what this intraday action's been like. Yeah, you can see that big move down. That was Monday. I think it was over the weekend. The FBI come out and then bang, pushed up, held a higher low yesterday, and it's just popped up today through that high 52.80, heading up towards 53.30. May find a bit of resistance up there. Otherwise, it's just going to blow through and just work its way up to major resistance at 54.50. But we'll see how that goes. Let's take a look at the Aussie, because the Aussie's shown some good price action Um, just bear with me 1 second, guys. Okay, we'll keep going here. Just had a little knock at the door. Oh, was this the other day, Paul? We mentioned it about the different phases, or oh, the what we're looking at, how we're splitting up the stream. Okay, if that's it, we're just looking at just potentially going over the markets and what's moving the markets at the start. So obviously that's an area everyone is more than welcome to join in there and just give you opinions what you think's moving the markets and what we should be looking for, what's on the horizon that could potentially move the markets. So that's a great time for chat. Jump in on chat and throw the opinions through. Um, 5 categories for trading. You're showing up on my memory, aren't you? I've already forgotten. Um, so just a few minutes ago, we were talking about the ASX. Was it just during the ASX there, Paul? If not, you can always go back on the recording just at the start. All right. We'll keep playing ahead. Anyway, we'll look at the Aussie. That's yeah. So I was up in Queensland for a couple of days, and we saw. I don't think it was up through 77 at that stage. But now it's pushed up, so we've got a bit of a sell-off in the US dollar. I guess now that we're getting through the elections, it's looking to more of rate rises. So if they are going to raise rates in the US in December, we're going to get a US sell-off because they'll be looking towards the next one, and there's strength coming into the US. Whether it's going to take a long time like it has in the past, these numbers have been a little bit stronger, but only minor, and they're nothing much to give the Fed Reserve any great reason, because it's still within their range, CPI range, their inflationary targets still holding. It's just getting to that top end of the range. That's probably why we're getting that one rate rise. Whether it accelerates a bit, we get better numbers, and there's more reason to raise rates, into the coming year, say 2017. If that's the case, then we should see this Aussie dollar, excuse me, push higher. Just bear with me a second. Okay, we're back there, guys. Yeah, so the Aussie, I'll get up I'll just drill out a bit more data. So we've been watching this for quite a while. That 77 and 77.50 level was quite significant. You can see it was back here. It's touched up at 77.30. Excuse me, and then it's backed off. But you can see these major higher lows building. Now we've pushed up, just fell short of that level, pulled back, made your lower highs, lower lows on the way down. Held that 70, was it 75.15, 20 zone, and then started pushing up from there, back up to 77.30. Built the higher low, a major higher low at 75.65. We've got that marked up there, and we've been working our way. So we've just punched through 77.30 and 77.50. Took out a couple of good resistance levels there. I don't know how much data we can get, but you can see that's looking quite good. Actually, if we just drill it out to a 4-hourly chart, so that price structure, you can see that market's been building. Buyers have been stepping in. Longer term buyers have been stepping in. We're holding that trend higher, and we're popping out to the top side. Whether we just wash out, it's just a major washout, and we roll over and we hold that 78.30 resistance right up there. Those highs is still yet to be seen, but it's looking quite good. If we get up through there and then pull back into the zone and build another major higher low, this is all going to take a long time to work out, but that's with in the background we've got US rate rises, then yeah, that could really get a bit of a run on. Let's just drill out to the daily to see what that looks like. It could be just a, and you can see there's a massive potential for a good short squeeze there. Can everyone sort of understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying a short squeeze? What we're looking at there is this. You can see this is obviously the big picture. This is a daily chart there. So we've got some major key levels right up here. We've got another one just in here, probably another one there, and this is not so much a key level because we sort of built. This is still continuation lower. So once we've hit this point up here, was it 81.60? We've headed lower, made some lows down at 68.40, and we're just working off those lows now still. So really, potentially we could just roll over longer term, break these lows, and then head south towards that 68 level, 68.50 again. Or we could just work our way up and just do a big short squeeze. So you've had shorts that have just built up over the very long term. Right up here, some shorts have pushed it down. We've had a bit of profit taken in, some more shorts entering the market. This may be just a longer term squeeze, but we'll have to see how that goes. But really, what we're looking for, any short position, you just have to buy back, and you can just really trigger a good run on higher. Push back up to 81, above 80, 8100, 8150. Target that level. Maybe major washout. Retest that zone, because that's sort of the key level holding down this trend just at the moment. We've had a minor one through here. You can see how it's pushed down, pulled back up, retested this level, 1, 2, twice there, pushed down. That really was just retesting those lows. It was a bit of a, you can see this minor level just in there. So that's not strong. As soon as we push down through that, was it 6900? Pop through on that longer term picture and then just bounce back from there. So we're just contracting back up towards really that 81.50 zone. So it'll be interesting to see how the Aussie plays out. The yield trade. You're talking in the US. I haven't been following that, to be honest. That's got to do with the bonds, I'm guessing. Or is this on the Aussie? The dividend yield and Telstra. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll have a look at Telstra in a minute. We'll just take a look at that. We're actually short on that, so we'll see how that goes. It could do. Yeah, there's going to be people. I guess that's got more to do with the ASX when you're looking at entering. The way I would play it, I would be viewing the ASX if I'm looking at just dividends, good dividends on different stocks. I'd probably prefer just to get an idea of where the ASX, and like we said just before, where is it? We've got the trade. This is probably a bit of a problem if you're looking at dividends, because you can get a better yield if it does head south and we start getting, but you'd want to see, I guess we could have the initial stages if we do get that higher low up we mentioned in here, through that support holding, get the higher low, then I think, yeah, buying into those sorts of things for the longer term and get that dividend, then it's looking nice, nice and attractive, especially as the markets have pushed south for a while. It's making those dividends look more and more attractive. So I think there will be some maybe portfolios, or however you trade them. There could be some people looking at it now. But to me, I'd to jump into that sort of play. I'm more of a how do you say? I'm a return. I'm not too worried about dividends. I don't sort of tend to dabble in those stocks a lot anyway. But if you are looking in those stocks, they're obviously slow movers for me, and what I like to look at. But I do think, obviously, when you've got a few levels, that's my biggest issue just at the moment with the market, is that major lower high. You don't know if that's going to put more pressure. Say, if that holds, we've got that. Let's just take that out of the way. So we've got that major, that move lower. We've pushed up, pull back into that support through there. This is going to be a bit rough. That's a lower high there. You don't know if we've we've come down here. If we were just working our way back up, could build that, hold this level, and then just come screaming down through, make another lower high there. You don't know what's going to happen. So I think jumping into those, I guess it depends on your outlook too, your longer term, how you're short, long term, what sort of outlook you've got on those stocks. But yeah, you'd hate to be buying them now and find that it rolls over. You take it for the div, but you're losing on the actual underlying. But I think it is getting, obviously the more it goes down and we start seeing signs of the market hold up, it is looking attractive. Let's what have we got here? Let's just go. So we've got the Aussie. I think this could be some good movement higher there. That'd be interesting. ASX. So that's the 30-minute chart there. That's holding high lows there. It's holding a low at 52.40 and again up there. So the intraday is looking quite good still. Heading up to a resistance zone which we mentioned before. Probably getting, it's on the ASX. It's about that. Oh, we've got that level 53.30. I'd say just in there. It's getting up to that resistance zone up there. So it'd be interesting to see if we can actually push through that. We'd probably more than likely do this type of scenario, push into it, wash it out, pull back, get it through short traders and then wash them back out again as we head higher. If the market is starting to look positive. We'll see how that goes. Anything else? Is there something you want to look at? Do you want to go through Telstra, Paul, or is there anything else that people just want to quickly look at? We'll get into a couple of stocks now. Obviously, we've chatted about gold a bit. We'll look at not so much the stocks itself, but just XGD, which is the ETF on it, which I think I've got just here. I'll get to the daily end of day. So we've got XGD. We'll talk about that and why it's starting to look, well, I think it's looking good. It's yeah, the gold. This is pretty much just your gold stocks. I don't know if anyone knows XGD, or if we've mentioned it before, whether anyone's following it, but I think it's a good one just to keep an eye on. And also GOLD, gold, which is an ETF. So that's a weekly chart of it there. And again, I like this big long base. You can see. Well, let's start with this one. So monthly starting to roll over, but there's no reason why you can't get this type of price action to roll over. It's coming to a good little zone, building for a move higher. Excuse me, bit of a cough. Telstra. We'll have a look at that in a minute because to be honest, we're short that, but it's just holding up at that 490.92 level. So I think with the market negativity around, I thought it might have gone a bit lower. But the same token, on the flip side, the market's popped up the last few days and it still hasn't really gone anywhere. It got sold off yesterday, so that's the thing. You may just keep your eye on that. Depends what your longer term play is, because again, we're short ASX. Have you had a look at that last few days? We're pretty much up over nearly $2 on that, and bang, we're back to break even now. So that short term, shorts don't last as long as long positions, obviously. The market's geared to go long. Buyers, there's not really many short players now. You've got to be sort of a hard and fast trade, if that makes sense. But you could easily be back in, see 511, you're really still in the same ballpark, I guess, especially longer term. But we'll have a look at that in a second. Gold. So I do like that. This is GOLD still. So just taking like a sector view of it initially. You got to build, I guess, anything if you're building portfolio or your short-term trades. You just build it around an overall view of the sector, especially the longer-term stuff. You just want to get a view what's happening. So that stands out pretty much straight away. You've had that big move down, and this type of move down, you can see that's popped up. It's still holding slightly at this stage. Holding highs. Buyers are stepping in there, pushing it back up. They're trying trying hard. Bless their little hearts. It's just roll over from there, taking out these lows, and then you've got that big washout, the big push lower, and that's when just people, you can see it's just given up at that stage. As you see, if you're holding sort of long positions here, you've pushed up, you'd expect from there it's going to go pop. But when it doesn't, it starts taking out those lows, you'd really be concerned. And you can see that big washout, come back, had another go. So anyone that's really holding in there as well, second time around, just hoping that it's going to get back to break even, they've just been creamed, and that market's just pushed straight down. So that's some strong selling there. It's a big washout, but you've got that rejection. It's pushed back up. It's obviously down to another key level down there. You're sort of getting in here, washed out, retested, and then washed out slightly again after retest, and then we've bounced back up, taking out this inside high there. So you can see that buyers may be stepping in. It's not confirmed just yet because you've still got this lower high here, and this, if obviously 1, 2 straight across there, you got your line, your resistance line drawn in. We haven't got to it, but people have, if you've actually held it around here, any sort of stock, and you see it get up there after this big washout, you're going to get a bit nervous still. You've got out there, maybe it's a second or third chance you've had to get out. People have sold it back down again, but then we've got buyers are stepping in. Actually, if we just draw that properly, the view is buyers are stepping in through here above support, the previous washout zone, just above that zone there, and then we've had a bit of contraction in, but buyers are still holding. So does that make sense to people there? So that's the type of price action we're looking for. It doesn't mean you jump in and buy there, because you still got this resistance, overhead resistance to get through. So you don't know if it's going to pop up, hold this type of area, just say prior to that candle, around that zone, and then roll over hard again. That same sort of price action, wash out all these buyers that are built up in there. But the thing is, it's actually popped through. So when you get this candle up there, and then you get a contraction lower, what we're expecting for there is that high low to build, and we essentially got that. You can see the market's pushed down, buyers keep stepping in. Whether your aim is just to buy, people are looking for that high low to build. It's after that big breakthrough, that resistance that's contracted in, people are looking for that to hold. You just get those little wash of levels. You've got that low in there, it's made a lower high, just washed out that level, popped up. So that's a good sign when you get that sort of reaction off that after that little wash of those lows, those inside lows, push back down and wash this level out again. So you get that type of contraction, that sort of argy-bargy banging around in there, and then you've got a good strong move up, taking out all these highs through here. Okay, so that contraction potentially is going to end. So we've got a big base form through here after that major contraction, well, as over quite a few years. Major high low built around that 13,750, and then you've just got to pop to the top side. So really what we could be looking for, we don't know what's going to happen from here. It's got up into resistance there, but we don't know if it's just going to stair step its way up, and this could happen over a long period of time. You've got some good support zones, a high low built up in here, and we could just get that type of action through there, holding support. So that's just one reason why we're keeping an eye on this one, why we're keeping an eye on gold. Currently it is contracting off those highs. Doesn't mean too much. You've got a key level holding just up here. We could just get that pushback, a bit of a wash, and then pop like it has previously. A bit of a wash of the lows and then pop up to the highs. So we could get that and then get that build for another good leg up, good leg higher. If we just go down to the daily, yeah, you can see that I think that price action is quite nice. So really got a key level down here around that 1500 zone, 15.1. Those levels are holding. We could easily just get the wash of the 15,600 and then pop back up, but it's something that I think, if we're right, and if gold's starting to look good, buyers are starting to step in. I think because we're looking at a weekly chart. This is a weekly chart. Well, it looks like Mr. Squiggle's been attacking it. That's a weekly chart there. You've got a bit of time, so we're going to see these moves. It's probably going to take some time to build. Now, if we go over to XGD quickly, that's the weeklies. It's coming to that buy zone. We've got this little Oh, there's probably not really too much to draw there. You can see that consolidation through there. Oh, if we draw that. We've got, I don't know why it doesn't stay there. Support built here. We've got a higher low built. This is a lot cleaner than the previous chart. I like looking at this. It's quite nice. Well, that's probably not exactly. Let's get a bit clearer. So you're level through there. Okay, so it's just sort of bounced around. We've consolidated for quite a while, and I think that is. I'm gonna have to go to the other chart for it. That's so from say end of 2013 through to 2016. That's some really long-term price action. So for what we're looking at here, you got consolidation just through that level there. It's built that base and it's worked off a higher low, popped through what we saw, pulled back into that range. Great buying opportunity there for that push out. We got that nice leg up. Okay, know what we're looking through. We've got minor lower highs, lower lows push through. So we're at that stage now. We don't know what's going to happen. It could just contract lower. But what we do like is this W pattern in here, we call it. Right, so that pullback is starting, at this stage, is starting to look like it's running out of steam. So we do like that. If that's running out of steam and we're getting into that zone there, this is really just, it's had a good leg up. We may get a major lower high build up here of a break and another major correction. We don't know, but it's worth, even if this is a daily chart, it's worth starting to look at some gold stocks. However you want to trade gold, you can attack it from many different angles. Okay, so you can trade options or like you can attack it with options. You got your your risk is known, and your upside potential. If you're just buying calls, for instance, you can sell puts on it, but that's a bit of a different strategy. Buying calls on those as you get into a good zone. So even now, if you're going to buy some calls, you don't know if it's going to pop up, take out this high, and then you're in the money. You just got to. The hardest thing is there's your time frame. Okay, you got to start with options. You got to know, or you got to have a expiry date on those. So, but you can keep rolling those if if you do get it right and it starts working its way. If we just try to draw that, if it works its way down, we've got this low holding, and then we start doing this type of price action. You can buy some options when you get through sort of that level, and then just hold it for that move. If you have to roll them, you can roll them into the coming months. You're booking profit as you go. It's always a good way to attack it, or just buy some good quality stocks, some stocks, gold stocks you keep an eye on. Yeah, that there is starting to look quite nice. That there was the weekly, so I think that's coming into a good potentially buy zone there. It's looking quite good, especially when you get people may be waiting for major correction back down to retest this zone or even through here. That may not happen. It pulls up short, then you may get this big rush. Especially if you get this type of price action, it's coming down. They're expecting that to roll over from there and come back into that zone. Okay, they're ready to load up and buy. But if you get that higher low build, you might get that really just accelerated move higher, bang, and then once you get through that high, we all know it's going to be on. That's our view anyway. And you could be really pushing it right up into that 8,000. So there's quite a bit of fat. You know where your risk can be quite easily. Obviously, this is the ETF. It's not the individual stocks, but I think there's quite a lot of room to move in that. You can really project up through these highs, and that's what you're looking through. If you get an acceleration up off the higher low, that's going to look really quite nice. So that's, and if we just go down to the daily, you can just start to see it showing some signs. We'll just draw that up. Anyone got questions on this? I might just start to rant a bit too much, but let me know. Whack into the chat. Yeah, we can see that. Look, it looks like it's showing some good signs. You can see we've got a low down here. It's not really lining up with any major levels. That there. If that's the case, and we could be catching some people out that are potentially going to hold. But breaking that trend higher from that major support, that was, I think, through there was off the weekly. It's popped up, pulled back into the zone, made up. Oh, actually, I think it was somewhere around here because we did have that pop up through resistance, pulled back, built a higher low in here. which is nice, and it's worked its way up. So we had a good solid leg up there. Now that break, you can see it's just touched on support, made a lower high, push through, but it's pulled up quite short. So I like that because it can catch people out that are waiting for that bigger, deeper correction, and then they want to load up on some gold stocks, whatever. But what we're getting now is that you can see that trend line there, that resistance trend line, it's just broken through. If we start seeing that hold and we start working up, sooner or later we're going to get some acceleration as people jump in. Man Gibson, okay. We'll get into that in just a sec. So that's why we are seeing some good potential in gold. Yeah, anyone got questions on those? So what we'll do, we'll quickly flick over to Telstra. What are we, 10:56? So we've still got about 15 minutes or so we'll go for. Telstra, let's just see what that's doing. Yeah, obviously drilling back to a longer term view, this is what we are. This is what we're looking at. In that weekly view, it's mainly just through that $5 mark, and that's the lower high that's really sort of triggered it. As you get that push up, you can see it's pushed down, it's washed out 5 at the moment. Then you've got that minor high low. That's probably brought in some buyers, and then you've pushed up, taken out this high, pulled back, built another high low, stair-stepped up. But this washout here was really weak. So in context to all that, you're getting up towards that resistance. Once we can't break through there, and you're just headbutting up towards resistance, and that sort of thing can happen more often than not. You get a key level, but if the market's going to roll over and there's a resistance zone there, they'll more than likely wash it out and then go. And that's what you saw. That's what we saw recently. When was it? Actually a while ago now. On Telstra. And then you have that push straight back down to 5, and then wash out these lows, these prior lows at I think it's 492. That low there. So that's actually quite good. So we do like that. And then you've got this push up, and that was a really weak move. If that was going to go and hold, there's too many signs for us that are saying it's going to go lower before we see higher prices. We don't know where, and that's why we like that short side. It could easily just get to 450, push down, and then build. But either way, we're going to be looking at profit taking soon. And you can see that move down. That's why, we got short that lower high. So that should have, if that was going to be strong, it should have held 5. If this was a good base building, should have held 5 or even held above 492. It's just sitting there at the moment. So, still room for this thing to hold. We're on the weekly. Just go down to the daily. You can see that lower high. Just draw that. God, the kids have been naughty today. Just bear with me a second, guys. Sorry, back, guys. So we're looking at Telstra there. So once we get through that $5, you can start to see these minor wash here, and then that lower high is built, which is not a really good sign for Telstra. And then you've got another lower high in here, and we've had that push down. Now we want to see it get through this. This could, it could potentially catch out some short traders. We don't know. You've had that move down, that push down, and you're just starting to see. We could just see this action as it works its way down and then go bang. We don't know, and that's why we're, if it gets through, if you can get through 492 again or 490 and just push down, we'll see. If it doesn't extend that level too much, because we really would expect it to accelerate sooner or later if it's really looking negative. And once you stop seeing that acceleration lower, we might have to reassess it, but we'll see how it goes. We might even just, if nothing happens too much, we might be happy to lock in some lock in something on this trade, on this short trade, to see how we go. But yeah, up until we see some of these 510, 520 zone taken out, I think the bias is still down. Okay, hope that's helped a bit, Paul. But it's really, if anything, I could say, I guess it's looking great, and I guess with that negativity, we could have expected a bit of an acceleration lower, which we haven't quite seen yet. But this thing could keep grinding lower. I mean, no one knows what's going to happen. But there is a bit of room to move on the downside if it's going to really start accelerating low. All right, we'll look at what have we got? Mount Gibson. Haven't looked at that for quite a while. MGX. Okay, so just flicking a back one chart, you can see it's down at a major level. Alright, so you've had going from right to left, obviously. Just take this major move up, obviously just completely capitulated again to GFC. It's gone again through that rally of what, 2008 to 9, 10, and it's rolled over. I think it's taken out those lows, low of 22 cents, and it's just got below there recently through 2015. But it's spent a whole year doing nothing really, and it's really just holding those lows down at the moment. So in saying all that, we could be, yeah, it's starting to build, and that's the thing. You can see this high at here. We've pushed lower, washed out these lows, and then popped up and taken out this lower high. This is way back in 2013, and then we just couldn't continue on with it. I don't know what happens with the news flow on Mount Gibson, but yeah, then it's just started rolling over again, and we've just popped low at the end of 2014 and just pretty much went sideways from there. So it's only up until what, mid this year, which we can see. Is that right? Yeah, it's about here where we started to find buyers stepping up to the plate. And really, if we go back looking for targets, there's probably a bit of blue sky here. It could easily move. So just looking for what's going to hold it down, what sort of levels it's probably going to come up against. If we just draw that on the weekly, let's just take that. It's really only that area we're worried about there. Well, that's not the best of charts, is it? Sorry. Try that one last time. Alright, so just looking at what we could be coming up against, I think that comes as a fairly clear level there. It's broken through, then obviously once it got through that level there, it's pushed lower and then just gapped down. I don't know what's caused that, what's happened. It doesn't really bother me too much, I guess, but we're starting to head up towards that 40 zone. So that's probably going to come a bit of an action-reaction area. Then, other than that, you've sort of got some levels up towards 65. Again, that up to, I think it's 80 up here. So there's, apart from that sort of initial 40 zone, it's not a strong level. Don't get me wrong, it's not a strong level just up there. But there's not much after that. So in saying that, there's probably a bit of room to move. Okay, so we drill down to a daily. Let's just have a look at the daily chart. Yeah. Try that one more time. So the daily support zone there, your buyers are stepping up. You can see them coming in. If you're following that, you get that pop up there. Okay, that's just sort of coming off the minor higher lows. There's not too much of a move. That's the key zone. Buying, you really want to be stepping in too much just up until that stage. You've touched up to resistance, come back, made a higher low in here. Even if you can say, which you probably would, that's okay. It's sort of your next. Once you pull back here and you start, then you've got this type of washout move. That interests me, that level down there, and we have touched back down to there, and we started holding. You can just see just a touch higher. My line's not straight. Okay, touch higher through there. I think it's about 19. Excuse me. Obviously, a nice setup would have been off this level, up, pull back, and then you can buy into the market, maybe with a break, but it's just gapped up. So obviously, maybe on the back of news, I'm guessing. That's looked good. Now, this could have been a nice little entry through here. Once you've washed out these highs, you're starting to get to some other levels. That is a major, nice long-term basing type of pattern you've built. That level down there at 16 to 17 is held through here. Popped up, retested this level at 23.5, say. Built a higher low just in here. Fair bit of price action, fair bit of work done through there. Obviously a bit of a missed opportunity. That would have been nice to see a different setup play out, but didn't. So we just have to sit back and go, bum. That's the children coming out and the child coming out of me. Yeah, and then we've popped up through resistance, pulled back, and that's quite a nice little, I think nice little spot, minimum risk through there, and you've got that acceleration higher, and you can see by that type of price action, that nice acceleration, that's quite steep too. Once you see those steep moves, you expect, once it starts slowing down and it headbutts up into resistance, you expect a bit more. It's got to do some work. Well, if we just draw that out, it's got to do a bit of work through there, yeah, which we've seen before another potential move higher. So that's starting to get, whether that's a level in there to work off, but you got these sharp moves up, and then it's come back, and then you've got consolidation through here, which is quite nice, and then you got another sharp move up. Couldn't really continue on through that 33.5, so it may still have a bit of work to do, but what I would preferably like to see from here, I think this whole context is nice. High low built in here through 27 as well, so that context of this overall potential move, and remembering we could be looking up towards 40. It could be a bit of fat in this trade, and even higher. If it gets through 40, just clean. It could just go pop straight through. Then I think it's going to be really on for some good returns. But in context of this, if this low can do something similar to here, it's just washed out, maybe like that, comes back, builds in at this area, we may just get that washout. It's pulled back, we've got support in here. Now, at the moment, it's just popping up. We could just get this type of price action. If we get that, then, excuse me, what I'd like to see is, something build, just some minor higher lows, and then look for a breakthrough, even an inside, and then you could pop up and just go straight through those highs, and then on your way to 40. We don't know, but it'd be interesting to see how this one plays out, though. Hope that's helped, Clement. But I think what I'm noticing from you, Clement, is you're looking at some nice structure, and I do like it. And always put in this context and this length of move, all those sort of factors do come into account, because it's taken time for that to happen, a long time, and it's built that base. That price action there, that structure is nice, and you can see obviously we're right, it's got that accelerated move up, bang. So there's not just one or two people looking at it, it's quite a few. So take into account from there to there, that sort of length of time isn't important in the move too, not only just the levels, but that length of time, that the time it's spent doing that. So the length of time consolidating, the moves are generally, we all know that's probably hard and fast, and that hasn't spent much time, but that vertical, near vertical move higher, and then after that, the harder the move up, you've got to spend some time consolidating. So that's probably what we're doing now. We don't know, but it'll be interesting how this plays out. But in the chat, just remind me of this, just so we can follow it a bit. All right. Anything else, guys? What I'll do, I've got one that just MTR. Mantra. We've traded this in the past. Mantra Group. It's done just over $2 million at the moment. What are we now? 11 o'clock. So it's not far into trade. So I can do some volume. This obviously not as much as some of the big boys, but this can do some good volume, so there's more than enough to play with there. What I'm seeing in this one, I guess what I like is this type of stair stepping down. We obviously don't know what's going to happen, but you're getting, I don't follow divergence, but I know people do, so that's just always one. You've got to know what people may be following. You've seen some divergence on the stochastics and the price action there. So I think this could have potential. We've got the MAs are still pushing down, so there still might be a lot of work to do, but I think it's one just to keep on the radar. Maybe potentially for a portfolio trade. Don't know just yet, but this one is starting to look good. It's showing some good signs. If we just drill it down, just look at the daily. I'm not. Oh, let's take that. And this is one things that you just want to keep note of. Just get a few on your charts. It's starting to break out. That's what I initially like to see. And you've got this top price section here, say through $3, touchdown, still holding the trend down. It's washed out, so it's caught a few traders out there. If you're long from in here, you don't know where people are long. They're just being washed out. They go, okay, I'm giving up. Gets through there, I'm done. I think this thing's going. Wash out people and come and break through this resistance zone. So we could just spend a lot of time consolidating through there. We don't know. But it's looking like it's holding minor high lows. We could work our way out. Pop through this, this key level here through 370, wash that out a bit, pull back, and then we wouldn't mind seeing. Oh, geez, not doing well with my straight lines today. Was that time spent up in Queensland? So we've got that move through there. If we can draw that up, bit of a wash out of those lows. And now we're starting to, hold higher lows. Only minor, but we are starting to see that type of that type of price section through there. So we could be just looking to continue that on. You don't know up here, but what if we do get that type of price action? That wasn't the best, but anyway. You know what I mean? If we could get that sort of washout through there, I wouldn't mind seeing a more of a major high-low build for a move up. So that's more of a major level in context to this low down at $3. Does that make sense? So if we can get that bit of a washout of these highs, and then maybe we go into that second phase there, you could have that big pullback, a good strong move up. That pullback a long term there. So most of the year it's been working its way lower, and then so what we're saying, if that's going to consolidation, we want to see when we think it could be coming out of consolidation. So if we see this type of price action, that for me is a nice little sign. It's starting to take out those highs as it's attacking that 370, 380. So what's that's going to do is going to really red flag it to some people, maybe us. And then what we're going to see is what happens from there. I'd like to see that sort of price action more of a major high-low build, and that there, once you get that top price action, attack the highs, pull back, build off a high-low, and we could get nice inside entry prior to that 370 being broken. But that's what I'd like to see, all in all, that type of structure. We've got that move down. I think we're seeing signs of that broken now. Now what do we want to see? Is it going to just consolidate for a long time, consolidate for a month, a year? We don't know. But we want to see signs of that breaking out to the top side and then starting to build for a leg higher. But if you remember this, it's that time spent doing it as well. So it may have to spend a lot of time just building for that move, potentially another move up. But just be ready. I guess that could, once we see those MA start contracting in on themselves, that's always a good sign on the weekly too. On the daily, they are slightly, but it's choppier. You want to see when we get to this type of choppy action, these holding, and you get that expansion, and then potentially that's a great little spot to trade in there. That was at the end of last year, and that could really lead to some good gains, high risk reward. Okay, that's something I just want to chat about there, but that's could probably just about bring us to the end there, guys. Any questions on what we've spoken about? I guess people are starting to see what we like to see, the price action. I think Devon had some really nice points, and I personally love hearing him talk about that, is the phases of the markets. Um, trying to identify the phase of the market and what you're seeing, and it's not just your indicators, it's more structure, the time spent on a move. Okay, if you see something happen, what do you think should happen? What do you want to see before you're willing to risk your money in the market? And I think it's worth reviewing that stream. I think that was on, let me just remember, Friday. So that was the 4th. So if you go back to the stream on the 4th, you'll get some good information there. I'd like to say I taught him all he knows, but unfortunately not. So yeah, that's really worthwhile, just going over that and just checking it out, and then try to sort of apply that to your trading. Anyway, any questions, guys? If not, again, thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll try to stick to a similar type of structure. We'll start off with what the market's doing, see if we've got any more on what's happening on the election front, see what's happening there. We'll probably chat a bit more about it tomorrow, see if it's been worked out. I don't know what's happened just yet, whether it has been worked out. I think it's probably still too early. Like I said, I don't follow them that much, so anyway, yeah, thanks Paul, thanks Clement. Anyone else that's out there, remember we'll be back on again the same time tomorrow. Feel free to whack in any charts you want to have a look at, any comments. It's always good fun. We're going to try to build up a little community here and just get people involved and try to help with the education side of it, but more importantly just try to build a good community. I think it's always good and important. So it's good for your trading, see the way other people view things. Anyway, we'll be back on tomorrow, so thanks for joining us. Speak to you then. Bye.